Sup nerds, I'm Tom, and today we're going to talk about Gartenbau, a new game from 25th Century Games seeking funding on Kickstarter. Now, given the fact that this game is going to be crowdfunded and what I've been playing with is technically a prototype, I mean, it's a pretty good looking prototype, but given that fact, I have to give you the general hullabaloo is that, what you're looking at here is prototype. Component things could change, the minor rules could change, and there's always that tiny little bit. So basically take everything I say with a tiny grain of salt. So this is a drafting tile placement game where you're going to draft tiles in sort of a rondelle type style. You're going to draft seedling tiles first, then you can put plant tiles on top of the seedling tiles, and then you could put flower tiles that go on top of the plant tiles. There's like level 1, level 2, and level 3. It's actually kind of like the game I reviewed a year or two ago called Miyabi. I mean, I'm certain there are other games where you stack tiles on top of other tiles. This is just the only other one that I can think of off the top of my head. And that's also kind of where the comparison stops. They're very different games. So you're going to move your little piece around this rondelle, and you can skip spaces and all that kind of stuff, but you're going to land on a space, and either you're going to draft a seedling tile, or you can gain the resources that are printed on the space. And the resources are what you need for the for the plant tiles. I'm just going to call them level 1, level 2, and level 3. So you either draft the level 1 tiles, or you can gain resources, which is what you'll use to spend for the level 2 tiles, and then later on you can play your level 3 tiles that are in your hand on top of the level 2 tiles. And they all have to go on top of like 2 tiles, right? So I have to place a level 2 tile on top of 2 level 1s, and then I have to place a level 3 tile on top of 2 level 2s, right? So you do have to think several turns ahead. I mean, you're going to have a big hand of those level 3 tiles, the flower tiles, and those are really where the points are. That's like the biggest chunk of points. Actually, at the end of the game, the only real points you get are from level 3 and level 2 tiles. And actually, given that you put the level 3s on top of the level 2s, right, you're actually kind of covering up the points that are on the level 2, but you're net gaining points, because the level 3s are a lot more points than level 2s. But the point is that, when in doubt, you can always just go around and keep gathering seedling tiles and gathering resources, because those plant tiles, those level 2s, hey, you could go ahead and buy a couple and scoop up some points, and that might help you out while you're waiting for the exact one you need so that you can make your plan work or whatever. But given that the flower tiles, the level 3 ones, are the main ways you get points, that's like the biggest chunk of points, they're also sort of like the most interesting part, because there's actually tons of these tiles. There are like starter ones where everybody could get sort of the same opening hand. It's like the same type of tiles, but they just trigger off of different colors, different plant tiles and different seedlings and that type of thing. But there are other advanced tiles, which is definitely the way I recommend you play, where you're supposed to draft. I mean, I did play one game where I just handed out the advanced tiles randomly because we were running low on time. I didn't want to go through the draft, but doing the actual draft is of course better. And I don't even think the rules recommend you to hand them out. I just went ahead and did that because, YOLO. There's so many different types of tiles there, and they score in so many different ways. Like, some of them just straight up give you points. Will give you like 20 something points, which is kind of a lot. But then there are other tiles that will trigger off of other things, like other seedling tiles that you have, other flower tiles, things that you have adjacent, and the clumps of tiles. Sometimes you'll get points. Some just say you get points based off of holes, and it just says holes. So I mean, you probably start with points already, right? Because you have a bunch of holes. It's not important. I actually think the draft is pretty clever too, because when you go to buy level 2 or level 3 tiles, right? When you go to buy the plant tiles and the flower tiles, you kind of move your piece out of the rondelle selection, if that makes sense. Because at the very beginning, every player is just kind of leapfrogging all over themselves. I mean, they can skip spaces, so it's not always going to be just a leapfrog anyways, but there's kind of like a randomness generator built in there, so that every time somebody goes to buy a plant or a flower tile, which again, they're going to do kind of a lot, they're rearranging the way that the order of the rondelle thing works. I'm probably not explaining it correctly, but the idea is that you can never really look at the board and say, okay, well, my next option for next turn is going to be skip to here, and then skip to here, because things really change a lot. So you kind of have to roll with the punches. And given the fact that you need to plan your turns ahead of time, sometimes you really have to play the hand that's dealt to you. You really got to be able to bob and weave. You got to be flexible.
Be formless, shapeless, like water.
All this to say, I think this might be my favorite of 25th Century's games so far. I mean, I also really liked Kohaku. That was another tile drafting, tile placement type game with a twist in it. But this one has a bit more of a twist. Like, I think this one's a bit more advanced than Kohaku a little bit. Like, I wouldn't say this is an intro game per se, kind of like Intro Plus. People who have already played a couple lighter games, this is, bringing it up. Like, it's maybe not medium weight exactly, a little bit below medium, a little bit, but all of these terms are nebulous anyways, but I hope maybe this rambling that I'm going through gives you some idea, or maybe I'll just stop. So I definitely recommend that you check out Gartenbau. I'm going to put a link for the Kickstarter in the description box down below. If you like drafting games, if you like tile placement games, if you like quick games, because actually the turns do kind of whip around the table, you'll be deciding where to put your seedling tile, and then you're like, okay, I think I got it right here. Oh wait, it's my turn again? Because other people can take their turns while you're placing your tile. Sometimes it doesn't really make that big of a difference. So, boom, boom, boom. You just be going like crazy, real fast around the table. It's good with 2, 3, and 4 players. I mean, I think I've said all I can say at this point. We're going to have a link for the Kickstarter in the description box down below. Also down there is going to be a link for Game Toppers. I mean, I played this game at the board game store. I played it at a brewery. But when I play games at home, I always play on my Game Topper because they're hella dope. All right, nerds. Well, I'm out of here. I'm going to go take a nap. But y'all know the drill. Subscribe or you'll never be bored. Boom.